need each of you to shout your own name. Do that. Because it's about all of us. It's about all of us.
All right, so both campaigns are in overdrive with the amount of events that they are doing this week leading up to the election. Now, one big event from Kamala Harris today, which aired live, was her podcast interview with Shannon Sharpe, known as Club Shay Shay Podcast. And once again, it was a dumpster fire as far as the feedback that it received in the comments section, the like to dislike ratio. And once again, her answers were empty. So what we're going to do is clearly react to that podcast and talk about some other stories in between. Let's start with what her message is to black men who are supporting Trump. Watch.
Well, so I'm really glad you brought that up, Shannon. So first of all, let's clear up certain myths.
Okay.
You know those checks that went out?
Yes. Those stimmies?
Right. Right.
Stimulus check.
Yeah, I know. Well, right. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
We got to be for stimulus, but they call them stimmies. Okay.
The reason those came about is because there was a Democratic majority in the House of Representatives and Congress.
Mm-hmm.
People like Maxine Waters, people like Hakeem Jeffries, right?
Yes.
Who did the work of pushing to say, people need help right now and we need to send out checks. There was a whole lot of opposition to it, including from Donald Trump's White House.
Yes, even him. I think he was resistant to it at first.
Yes. That's why those checks, remember, Congress holds the purse.
Yes.
So really, Congress wrote those checks. But then Donald Trump, unlike any president before or after, decided he put his name on those checks.
So therefore, people thought
Donald Trump gave me that check. And so let's clear that up first and foremost.
Okay. So let's do a poll. Let's ask people if they could go back, would they have accepted those stimulus checks if it meant that we'd have the cost of living that we have today? Right? I mean, let's be honest here. Let's use common sense. See, that's why it doesn't make sense for her to answer the question that way, because she's being disingenuous. And here's the other thing is that, again, the way that you see black people, you think black men are supporting Trump because there was a stimulus check with his name on it. That's what you think? I mean, if that doesn't scream out of touch, I mean, I don't know what does. I mean, it's like she doesn't actually sit down with black men and truly have a conversation with them. She's so oblivious to this. That's not why Trump is being supported. The reason why is, number one, he's not guilting or shaming anyone because they want to vote for Kamala Harris. That's clear. Two, he's not pandering and switching up his accent in order to get black people to vote for him. And three, there's been 4 years of his administration and 4 years of Joe Biden and you, and people can compare. All right, so here's a policy question. I know you're surprised, where Shannon Sharpe asked her about Social Security benefits, and clearly it's supposed to be depleted by 2033. Here's what she had to say.
MVP, if you were to become president, what measures would you put in place to make sure Social Security benefits continue? Because there are reports that it could possibly be depleted by 2033. And there are estimated that 11,000 people turn at least 65 years of age every single day.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do to make sure, because that, people, disabilities, retirement, survivors with beneficiaries, what are you going to do to make sure that that continues?
So, Shannon, to your point, there was an independent economic review of Donald Trump's plan, which shows that Social Security in the next 6 years would be insolvent under his plan, meaning that it would not be able to pay out what hardworking people who deserve dignity in their retirement deserve. And as you and I both know, there are a lot of our seniors who their only source of income is that Social Security check.
That's correct.
Right? It's the only way they're going to pay the rent or have food on the table. So my plan is about doing what we need to do to put the resources back into Social Security, but also expanding it. Because here's part of the problem with Social Security is that for our aging seniors, if they are a couple, for example, and one of the spouses passes, that cuts their Social Security benefits almost in half. So part of my plan is to reconfigure it so that that surviving spouse does not then have a crisis where they've already lost their loved one.
Yeah, so if you're listening to what she's saying, you know she's not saying anything. Reconfigure what exactly? What does that mean? Reconfigure the amount? I mean, what do you mean by that? And I just think, again, people underappreciate how clear and simple Donald Trump's message is when it comes to his policies. No tax on Social Security benefits. If that's not clear, I don't know what is. Right? I mean, she takes you on this whole scenic route to get to the point of, I'm going to reconfigure it. That still doesn't answer the question. I mean, yeah. So yeah, she bombed that as well.
Just have to understand on a macro level, we've got to require that billionaires and corporations pay their fair share, right? They can afford to. And that's part of what is the difference between me and Donald Trump. My plan is about tax cuts for small businesses, for working people, for middle-class people. 100 million Americans will benefit around tax cuts. My plan is that no taxes will be raised for anybody making less than $400,000 a year. My plan is that we give young parents a $6,000 child tax credit to help them pay for child care, for a crib or a car seat, because you and I both know the vast majority of our young parents have a natural desire to parent their children well, but not always the resources. And back to the way I was raised, I know that the children of the community are the children of the community. That you and I will benefit from that young family having the resources they need.
There we go. The children of the community word salad. I mean, she just can't help herself. Okay, so let's just get some things straight here. Number one, child tax credit originated from the Trump administration, will continue if he's elected, by the way. Number two, I find it interesting that she says, well, I'm not going to raise taxes only on people who make $400,000 or more. So what you're saying is you agree with the Trump tax cuts, because if you're saying you're not going to change that, you're going to allow people to maintain what they're getting taxed now. And that's because of Trump. Now, I guarantee you, if she gets into office, everybody's taxes are going to go up, because you have to understand she's being driven and pushed by the progressive wing of her party. They want to spend money. They want more government programs, and they got to get the money somehow, which is through taxing Americans. And we still don't even know the fallout financially of how much it's going to cost us with all these illegal migrants in our country. Oh yeah, they are going to come for us. No question.
Access to health care is a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. That's why I am in favor of and have pushed and been a leader on capping the cost of insulin at $35 a month. And why I intend to allow Medicare to actually negotiate against the big pharmaceutical companies to bring down the cost of prescription medication for everybody. That's why I have fought for what we need to do around making sure Medicare covers senior care. Access to health care should not be a question of how much money you have in your back pocket. That's just not right. And I feel strongly about that.
If you just look at Shannon Sharp's face, he's just like, I don't know what she's talking about, but okay. And that's the problem with her doing these podcast episodes. Again, she was pretty much put in an impossible position. She's part of the current administration. She's a weak candidate. She has a terrible record. She ran before and it was proven that people don't like her. She's coming off where most of the country believe we're going in the wrong direction. They believe we were better off 4 years ago. I mean, every single metric is against her. And when you're telling her to do these sit-down interviews, that doesn't suit her either, because think about it. If you take her interview with Shannon Sharp and you take the interview with Trump and Joe Rogan, there's no comparison. You could look at the Joe Rogan thing and say, man, Donald Trump looks like a human being. He doesn't sound like a politician. He sounds like everybody else. Right? He has a lot to say. He's got a lot of ideas, and he can go on and on and on and on and on. But then when you watch Kamala Harris, you're kind of like, man, she is an empty politician. So that's not going to resonate with voters. Okay. People who are already going to vote for her, they'll love this. But if you're undecided, if you're independent, you're a disgruntled Republican, you're not getting anything from this. In fact, it's just confirming why you won't vote for her. Okay. So I posted on X the like and dislike ratio. I put every show she does has that many dislikes. There may be a lesson in there. And that's what I was just telling you guys. The lesson is she's a very unlikable person. It just is what it is. I mean, maybe behind closed doors, we would all like her. But as far as a politician is concerned and someone who's asking to be promoted to the commander in chief, nobody likes her. I mean, look at that. 29,000 to 57,000. That is crazy. All right. So before we go any further, you guys know what it is. Please like, share, and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. If you want to support us further, go to the link in the description below, grab yourself a t-shirt or buy us a cup of coffee. Now, she did a tour of a semiconductor plant today, and I don't think she can help but be cringe. Look at this.
Here is actually a harvested U-rod where we actually do grow it. So this is what it looks like when it comes out of our process of that. Do not touch it.
Do not. I'm glad I asked.
So please do not touch any of the
And I won't touch that.
These are very sharp. Yeah, very
Okay.
sharp.
Okay, and
So
shiny.
with that being said,
I mean, what can you say, right? It's like a kid in a candy store right there. But anyways, she's asking to be the commander in chief, so she deserves the criticism. I mean, when you become a politician, you're open to everybody's opinion about you. And my personal opinion is that she is not ready to be the commander in chief. She may never be ready to be the commander in chief. You're asking for the one person out of maybe the estimate is 400 million in our country to lead this nation. I mean, the standards should be high. And some people will say, well, why is Trump running then? Because if the standards should be high, he's not perfect either. And I would say, you know what, I agree. But you know what the fundamental difference is between Trump and Kamala Harris is Trump earned the nomination. She did not. Anyways, then she gives a speech at that plant, and let's just say it didn't go very well.
You know, I think that when we understand who we are as a nation, we take great pride in being a leader on so many things. And we have a tradition of that. But I think what we know as Americans is that we cannot rest on tradition. We have to constantly be on top of what is happening, what is current, and investing in the industries of the future, as well as honoring the traditions and the industries that have built up America's economy. And what you all are doing here is exactly that. First of all, we talked about the fact that the people who are doing this extraordinary work here, the workers here, you're doing work that requires an incredibly high level of skill. As I listen to it, it's about engineering. There's a technology piece to this. There's a chemistry piece to this. There is math to this. And I mean, it's just, I mean, do robots for God's sake.
I think it's very hard for her not to be cringe. I mean, this is politics and energy matters. And that's what I keep telling people is I don't care if you like or hate Trump. The energy is what matters. That's what people love him. He just has a certain energy about him that makes people attracted to him. And it's a love and a hate thing when it comes to Trump. And that's who Trump is. That's not who Kamala Harris is. She's going up against a candidate that has never existed in the history of politics. So, you know, we don't know what's going to happen, but it's not looking good. So she did host a rally today in Michigan. And on the topic of cringe, I mean, it just can't escape her. Look at this.
Okay, now I want each of you to shout your own name. Do that. Because it's about all of us. It's about all of us. And listen, I have fought my whole career to put the people first.
You're not going to see that at a Trump rally. I mean, it speaks to, like I told you guys, she's not authentic. And so I got to make sure people are seeing this, because if you're planning to go to the ballot box and vote for that, just understand that is going to be in every decision she makes as commander in chief. Now, I'm not finished with that Club Shay Shay interview, by the way. The unburdened line makes an appearance.
Being able to see what is possible and not be burdened by other people's limited ability to see the same. You cannot ever be burdened by other people's limited ability to understand who you are. Like, don't let their limited ability burden you about your own ability.
All right. I thought that was interesting. I got one more clip for you that I think you're going to get a kick out of. This is Shannon Sharpe kissing her ass and I guess trying to do a toast with some cognac. I want you to notice what she does. Watch this.
When we have guests come on, Madam VP, we like to toast. And what I read on this card, you don't deserve this. You earned this. Being the first in so many areas. And you make us proud. I just want you to know you make us proud for what you've been able to accomplish. And we're 12 days away, and we hope you have an even greater accomplishment. So here's to continued success in everything you've done and everything that you will do.
Oh, bless you, and thank you. And to you, Shannon, to you for all the success and the voice you give to so many issues. Thank you for that.
Thank you very
And
much.
cheers to you.
Cheers.
And
One more
I'm
time.
not going to actually drink this because I might fall asleep. And I need to do this
I don't want you to
with
fall
Barack
asleep.
Obama this afternoon.
We don't want you to fall asleep.
So here we are. Cheers to everybody.
She might fall asleep, but didn't she have that beer with Stephen Colbert? I mean, he was only asking you to take a sip. I don't see why you would fall asleep. I just, I mean, this whole campaign is a manufactured lie. It's cringe as F, right? And everywhere she goes, she seems to piss people off. Like, she becomes more unlikable the more she puts herself out there. And that's an unfortunate thing as a politician. I told you guys, there's a certain politician you never want to be. You could be a crooked one, but you don't want to be a crooked, unlikable one. And that's who Kamala Harris is. And there's an individual that I don't agree with, Ching Ogre from the Young Turks. I think he's Trump deranged. He's probably got a fatal case of it, of course. But I was shocked. This is what he said about Trump's Joe Rogan podcast, because I want you to hear how he's describing it versus what you just witnessed with Kamala Harris and Shannon Sharpe.
I thought Trump looked presidential and personable. I hate that, but he did. And so the presidential thing is, I mean, as long as you're not listening to him, right? He had a great suit on. He's sitting there and speaking authoritatively. Rogan is having a back and forth conversation with him that's seems like two human beings talking. That's definitely helpful to Trump because politicians are normally so awkward, right? But he's speaking to him as a person of authority, and Rogan is deferring to him, and then they like each other, so it goes back and forth smoothly. There aren't talking points. Standard politicians, including Kamala Harris, are talking point machines, and that's not what Trump is doing. I'm going to get to the substance. Don't worry of what he said, and that's where things devolve. But if you're a person looking at it from the outside and you don't know you don't know much about politics and you don't know much about the details of these issues, you look and you go, oh, well, that guy looks like a president, and that guy looks like he's a real human being having a conversation with another human being. He doesn't seem like a robot. He doesn't seem fake in that sense.
And so this election really comes down to fundamentals and just simple things with human behavior. I think I'm going to keep pushing this idea about human behavior because I keep seeing people debate about this election and talk about Trump is this and Trump is that and Kamala Harris, she's our best choice and all this other stuff. What everybody is forgetting, because maybe they're just too smart to take a step back and exercise common sense, it's just human psychology or human behavior. The bottom line is this. Everyone who's going to sleep, they are stressed out over what? Money in their bank account. And the last 3.5 years has not been great for most people. I'm not talking about people who are multimillionaires. I'm not talking about the corporate elites. I'm not talking about people who have all this money in the stock market. We're not talking about those people. We're talking about the people who live in these rural areas, in these battleground states, even people in the inner cities. They have a voice in this, and their voice is screaming, we don't like what the current administration has done, which includes Kamala Harris. So that's my opinion. That's why I think this Club Shay Shay appearance again was another disaster. It was not a good look for her. The like-dislike ratio shows that. What do you guys think about that like-dislike ratio? What do you think about what she had to say on Club Shay Shay? What did you think about her rally becoming more cringe? And then you let me know if there is a huge difference between what Trump did on Joe Rogan versus what she did with Shannon Sharpe. Let me know what your thoughts are and more in the comments section below. Now, what was not cringe was Donald Trump and his Madison Square Garden rally. That was historic, sold out. Even people who have Trump derangement syndrome agreed that this is something a Republican has never accomplished. However, MSNBC didn't go down that route. They went down the ultra unhinged route. And if you want to see me react to their reaction, you can click on that video because it's coming up right now.